This is the leak down and compression gauge setup that I have. This is the leak down gauges. This is the extension for the tester. We have the compression gauge, and then this neat little tool here is for vehicles that have longer spark plug tubes. This actually screws down into the block, and then at the end you would thread your compression tester hose or extension hose into it. Alright, this is the spark plug that came out of number 1. It's not too bad. It's got some wear on it. It's been in there for quite some time. I have the adapter screwed into the number 1 cylinder, number 1 hole, and I have the extension on the end of it. So right here I have 2 leads connected to the where the starter relay goes in the relay box. That's terminal 3 and 5 that are jumpered, where the switch for the relay would close. If I go outside the car, I got this rag here because my starter switch has bare leads at the end. I don't want them to touch and then start cranking the car. So we go out here. There's my starter trigger. So there's a flat rate way to find out whether your piston is at top dead center or not. I'm going to show you how to do it. So I have the hose here. It's attached to the cylinder. I'm going to take my starter switch, remote start switch, and I'm going to put my finger over the hole in the hose. Now the key is in the off position, so the car won't start. I don't have to worry about fuel being injected into the cylinders because the key's not on. All it's going to do is engage the starter. So if I bump it around, this will build pressure, and I'll be able to tell when I'm at top dead center. Okay, so that was it. You can hear it puff with my finger over the hole. Okay, so that should be at top dead center. The other way you can tell on some cars, if they're easy to get to, you can take your adapter out, take the spark plug out rather, and before you put your adapter in it, put a screwdriver into the cylinder and then bar the engine over by hand. You always want to turn the engine in the direction that it normally operates, so that you don't some of the hydraulically controlled tensioners don't like it when you run them backwards. So you always want to run the engine over the correct direction of engine rotation, and then you watch your screwdriver extension or whatever you have in there. You watch it rise all the way up, and then as it gets to top dead center, it'll stop moving, and as you go past it, it'll start to drop back down. So you want to put the screwdriver in, run it up until it stops moving, and then that's top dead center. The only problem with doing it that way is you don't know whether it's on top dead center compression or top dead center exhaust. If you do it this way, then you know you're on the compression stroke, because you're building pressure in the cylinder, and your thumb is what's keeping it in there. I have an extension down inside the cylinder, and I know I'm coming up on top dead center compression stroke. So if I rotate the crankshaft, you'll see the extension is going to start to come up, and then we want to stop just at the point right there where it doesn't move anymore. So if you turn it, it stops going up. So I have my compression tester connected. I'm going to hit my starter switch, and we're going to watch the gauge. Okay, so it was right around 105 psi. We're going to do the running test now. This time the key is in the on position, so once I hit the starter switch, the car should start, and then we'll start measuring the compression while it's running. It's about 50. I'm going to shut it off. I've switched the compression gauge to the leak down tester. It's the cylinders at top dead center, and I have no pressure on the feed side. So I have my air line is connected, and I'm going to slowly start to run the pressure up. I'm going to make 2 stops. One's going to be at 50, and while I'm running this up, I'm going to watch the crankshaft to make sure it doesn't turn. But my first stop is going to be 50 psi. There's 50, and then we're looking at the other gauge, and we are at right around 22 psi. Okay. Now I'm going to run it back up to 100. That's my second stop. Right there. And then my other gauge is reading right about 44 psi. Okay. Yeah, 44. So at this point, we have a cylinder that's failed because we're at 44 on the measuring side. So now we need to figure out whether our leak is coming from intake, exhaust, piston, or head gasket would be the fourth one. So we'll start listening. I usually go to the exhaust first. Okay, now I don't really hear a leak back here, but with as close as I am to the exhaust, I can actually feel the air blowing on my face, and I can smell the exhaust. I'm showing about 98 psi on the gauge, and right around 12, 13 psi. If I come around to the air cleaner box,